Hi there, this is Victoria, and today we are talking about some sequences to use with improvisation in elementary music. In the last few videos, we talked about a couple things involving musical choice before improvisation, as well as some general tips to keep in mind. Today, I want to talk about some specific activities you can use to guide structured improvisation in your classroom. Improvisation can sometimes be intimidating to teach, and I think it's because it's pretty different from the other skills we use as educators. Skills like reading or writing or singing or playing are pretty concrete. Students are going to know right away if they've achieved the purpose or not. When we compare that to improvisation, we see that improvisation is much more open-ended. This can make it challenging for students to know if they've done it right, and it can also make it challenging for us as their teachers to know when students have completed our objective. So the questions here become, what parameters are we going to put around student responses? Are we going to be satisfied with any sort of musical output from the students? Or are there specific things that we're looking for in improvisations to let us know the level of musical achievement the student is working on? Getting clear on the structure here not only helps with student achievement, but it also helps the flow of the activities and the classroom management in general. So here are some of my favorite structures for improvisation. These are blueprints that you can use and adapt to a different grade level or a song or a different medium. The first song is Here Comes a Bluebird. My first and second graders are always thrilled when I bring this song out, and it's because they love the game so much. There are different versions of this game, but the one I like to use has the student who is the bluebird flying in and out the windows, and then when the song says, take a little partner, hop in the garden, the bluebird is going to choose one student, and together they'll hop in the middle of the circle, and then the student who is chosen becomes the new bluebird, the old bluebird goes back in the circle, and the game begins again. The focus of this improvisation activity is either to work on quarter notes and eighth notes or to work on quarter notes, eighth notes, and half notes. And that'll just depend on where you are in your specific curriculum and what your goals are for your students. Now, before you do this activity, you'll need to make sure that students have a lot of experience singing and playing and reading and writing and speaking and moving to quarter notes and eighth notes and maybe half notes. To do this, they'll also need a really solid understanding of steady beat, of rhythm, and the difference between rhythm and beat. I have created a free set of slides for this activity, and you can download those for free on my website, weMakeTheMusic.org. The first step in this improvisation is just for students to get an awareness of the rhythm and the steady beat of the song. So students will sing the song and clap the words while they sing. The part that says, hey diddle dum a day, that's where the half note is. If students are ready to work with half notes, that's fine. If not, that's okay too. Either way works because they are going to sing that portion of the song in their heads. Next, they are going to clap the words to the beats that are filled in here and continue to sing this section of the song in their heads. Once they've clapped the rhythm, hopefully while you are pointing to the heartbeats, they are going to figure out the rhythm with a partner. I like to have students check their answer before I move on, and this just helps make sure that everybody's on the same page with me and that they're not just taking my word for it. So the way I will have them do that here is to show the answer on the board and ask students to give a thumbs up if it's correct and a thumbs down if they think there's a mistake. This answer happens to be correct, but I will often put the wrong answer on the board just as an assessment. Next, students are going to clap the rhythm that they see on the board. They've already checked the answer to make sure it's correct. They'll clap what they can read here, and then the rest of it they will make up. So read this, make this up, read this, make this up. In my last video, I talked a little bit about the group structure I use in improvisation and how I move from whole group improvisation eventually to individuals. And that's the process that I would use here as well. The last step is for students to talk about it, for them to work with a partner and try to synthesize and make connections of what they know about music and what they know about improvisation options. So they will turn to the partner and talk about how many quarter notes and eighth notes they could fit in the improvisation. If you choose to do this activity with half notes, then you would add this half note slide in there as well. Students are improvising part of the song on body percussion, and you could leave it there. Body percussion is a musical destination in and of itself. But you could also extend this activity by asking students to play their improvisation on unpitched percussion instruments. I mentioned earlier that these are like blueprints that you could use and transfer to a different song. If you choose to do an activity like this with a different grade level or a different musical concept or something like that, it's helpful to look for songs that have some repeating structure. So songs with a form like A, B, A, B or A, B, A, C are good. Students can make up the part of the song that stays the same, or they can make up a new version of the part of the song that's different. So thinking through the form of the songs is going to be helpful as you transfer this activity to maybe a different lesson at a different time. The second song is Rocky Mountain, and in my curriculum, I'm normally working with Rocky Mountain around 3rd grade. This improvisation has a melodic focus instead of a rhythmic focus like we had in Here Comes a Bluebird. I have designed this activity to work with barred instruments, but you could also put it on recorder or even on voice. My idea with this activity is for students to practice re or the full pentatone. Since this activity is for barred instruments, students are going to have the most success if they can worry about what they want the music to sound like instead of the actual mechanics of playing the instrument. So student readiness for this would include experience playing on the barred instruments in the center of the bar, alternating hands, and having an understanding of which side is high and which side is low. We don't want their attention to be divided into the production of the sound and improvising the melody. We want them to be able to focus just on the improvisation piece. So in addition to that, there's also some understanding that they'll need to have of the melodic tone set of the pentatonic scale, as well as rhythm, beat, the difference between rhythm versus beat, and quarter notes and eighth notes. Same as Here Comes a Bluebird, I have a slide presentation for this. And as you look through the slides, you're going to see that there's an emphasis on the rhythmic part of the song, even though this is a melodic improvisation activity, and that's intentional. Even though the focus of the activity is melodic improvisation, students are going to need to have the structure of the rhythm in place before they move on to melodic improvisation. A foundation in the rhythmic structure is going to let students know when to start and stop playing. It's also going to help them pay special attention to the pitches at the ends of the phrases that I want them to maintain throughout the improvisation. You can find this presentation at weMakeTheMusic.org. In Rocky Mountain, students are going to sing the song and choose whether they want to clap the rhythm or the beat. Whatever they choose, you're going to let them do that choice and then have them do the opposite, so they get practice with both. Similar to Here Comes a Bluebird, they're going to figure out the rhythm of the song, and notice that I'm letting them work with a partner or by themselves. And then again, they'll check their answer by giving a thumbs up if it's correct, a thumbs down if there's a mistake. This is where things get fun. I have levels training in the ORF philosophy, and so I like to incorporate movement in my classroom. Students are going to choose a mountain range to create with their group, and they can choose one of these 4 phrases on the board. Then they will take out their paintbrush and they're going to paint the melody of the song while they sing. So, Rocky Mountain, Rocky Mountain, Rocky Mountain high. When you're on that rocky mountain, hang your head and cry. Do, 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 remember me. Do, 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 remember me. After that kinesthetic and that visual practice, I want them to try to figure out the solfege on their own. If they have any trouble with this, I want them to sing it in their head while they paint the melodic contour again. Students will check their answer, so sing it all the way through as a class and then thumbs up or thumbs down. And now we're on to the improvisation aspect of this activity. In partners, one student will be at a barred instrument and one student will be next to them without mallets. There will be 2 students at each barred instrument. One student is in charge of playing a new melody, a new mountain range, while their partner claps the rhythm of the song, and this just keeps everyone together. Notice that at the ends of these mountain ranges, there are some pitches that I want everyone to end on, and that's going to keep the harmonic structure of the song the same throughout everyone's improvisation. So if I want to add a bass xylophone part, or if I want to accompany them on piano, or if I want to add a vocal drone on do and so, I can still do that because students are keeping the harmonic structure of the song the same. The last step to this is somewhat ambiguous. It has students working with a partner to talk about what they liked about their improvisation and then how they could remember their pattern to share it with a friend later. That is where the slide presentation ends. But it also has a really natural segue into composition. So if students want to remember their improvisations, they can write it down in standardized notation or in graphic notation so they could share it with a friend. One of the reasons students are going to have success with this particular song and this particular activity is because of the form of the song and its rhythm. In my curriculum, students have been working on quarter notes and eighth notes for a long time by the time they get to 3rd grade. So rhythmically, this improvisation activity is taking a couple steps back. And that's because I want students to have that rhythmic foundation so they can focus on the melodic element of the piece. So simple rhythms is important. The other thing is that there is rhythmic repetition. The rhythmic form of the song is A, A, B, B. So the simple rhythms and the repetition make it easier for students to focus on melodic improvisation. The next song is I Got a Letter This Morning, and this is for around 4th or 5th grade level. The final activity in this sequence happens in rondo form. Rondo form is awesome for improvisation because it keeps everybody in the circle engaged. At the end of this activity, you are going to have 2 circles. Everyone sings a song, and then 2 students at a time are going to improvise, so 1 in each circle. You could certainly do a whole class circle and have everyone improvise, but a typical class size, in my experience, is between 20 and 25 students. And the only reason that I would suggest considering breaking it up into 2 circles is just for the sake of time. That way, everybody gets a chance to improvise individually, but you're not going to sit there for 15 minutes while everybody gets their own turn to improvise. Something else important in this activity is one that we've talked about before, and that is moving from whole class improvisation, narrowing it down eventually to individuals. That is surprisingly important for 4th and 5th grade students. Even if you've worked really hard to establish an environment of safety and creativity from kindergarten through 4th and 5th grade, students at this age just happen to be going through a new social transition. And so it makes it equally important in the upper grades that you work on a culture of safety, just like you would in the younger grades. The last key component in this activity before we jump in is that it has the teacher modeling the improvisation. And that's really important because it gives students an example for how simple their rhythms can be. So the teacher has the opportunity at the beginning of this process to model a simple and musical improvisation instead of just cramming as many notes as you can into the phrase. The musical focus of this activity is taka mi, which means that students are going to need to have a prerequisite knowledge of steady beat and rhythm and the entire rhythmic sequence up to the different 16th note combinations. Just like the other slides we've talked about, this one is available for free as a download at wemakethemusic.org. So you have the sheet music here for you. The first step is going to be to clap the rhythm while you sing it in a call and response style. And then we move on to a B section. The B section is open the letter, tell me what does it say? And you'll hear taka mita in that rhythm as well. So students have the option to put this B section on body percussion of their choice. And then we move into a sight reading activity. You'll sing the song and then play open the letter, tell me what does it say on body percussion, and then read whatever is in the letter. So in this case, So students will play the rhythm to the question, and then the answer is whatever's in the envelope. You have this same sequence for 3 different letters. After that, students are going to give the teacher the question, and the teacher is going to give the rhythmic answer. Students will listen to the teacher play either 1, 2, or 3, and then hold up the finger to give their answer for what they heard the teacher play. Option 4 is blank. So after a few rounds of you playing what's on the board, you are going to make something up. You're going to improvise a rhythmic answer. After that, after you've modeled improvisation for them, students can choose which of these letters they want to play. So here, you can have students read one of the responses, or they can choose to use number 4 and make one up themselves. You will stay on this slide for a while because this slide is where you're going to work from whole class to half the class to groups of 4-ish, and then finally to partners. In partners, one person is going to ask the question on body percussion and one person is going to improvise a rhythmic response. So in the slide before, they had options of if they wanted to read something on the board or improvise. By the time they get with a partner, everybody's improvising. And then the final form of the song is what we've talked about before in rondo form. Something that I should mention about all the slides we've talked about today is that they are all editable. So at the ends of the slide presentations, you are going to find pages that you can adapt in case you want to add or remove some of the steps in the process. I love these sequences for their balance of student freedom and choice within limitations that you set to let them be successful. Students are set up to be musical right away in these activities and to let their individual choices shine through. My hope with these activities is that students get a sense that improvisation is a natural next step. It's a natural extension of their musical knowledge. And in the sharing and group work of these activities, I want students to recognize the value in their own musical ideas and in the musical ideas of others. If you use any of these activities, or if you choose to use the slides in your own classroom, I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what your students are learning in your classroom through improvisation. You can drop a comment below, or you could find me on Instagram. I am at Victoria Bowler. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to download the slides at wemakethemusic.org, and happy teaching!